we're going to go back to our story from The Wind in the Willows today for reading, and we are going to continue reading where our story left off and having some discussions about it. So the first thing I want to do is kind of just jump in and look at the vocabulary that we're going to see today, talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to kind of remind ourselves what happened in The Wind in the Willows on Monday before we continue reading. Sound good? So the first word we are going to see today and look at is the word arrange. Stand up if you've heard the word before. Arranged. Good. Have a seat. The word arranged just means that something is ordered or it's organized very specifically. So your desks are arranged in a very specific manner. Our lockers, we've put things in specific places and arranged it correctly. How many of you arrange your room or organize it how you like it? Good. You put things exactly where you want them. My boys are still at the age where I arrange their rooms for them. Another word, and this word is probably one you may not have heard before, is the word dejected. If you are feeling dejected, you're probably feeling a little bit maybe depressed or unhappy, and usually that dejected feeling comes from being lonely. You feel left out or you're feeling lonely, and you might say you feel dejected. So kind of that unhappy or lonely feeling that you get. Another word we probably have heard this word before, is the word escorted. Stand up if you've heard the word escorted before. The word escorted just means that you're led or accompanied by someone. So have a seat. When you might get into high school, you might escort someone to a dance. You might go with them. You're accompanying them. So just kind of a quick example of it. Another word in this one you probably have heard, but it can be in different terms. This is the word seized. Raise your hand if you've heard this word. If something is seized, it's grabbed or it's taken a hold of. So if I seize your pencil, I've grabbed your pencil, I've taken your pencil from you. Good.
So that's kind of like stealing.
It could be like stealing, yes. If you seize something, it could be like stealing it from someone. Typically, that person's going to know you're doing it, though. So if I'm seizing something, I am taking it from you. Good. The last word we're going to go over today, and you're going to hear in our read aloud today, is the word stability. The word stability, do you kind of hear another word inside of the word stability? Chloe, what do you hear?
Stub.
Stub, maybe a little bit. It's missing a different vowel there, right?
Ability.
Ooh, it has ability kind of in there. Yep. Any other ones? Zoe?
Narrowly.
It's got some little pieces in there. So stability actually just means that something is firm. It's not likely to move. It's not likely to be damaged. If something has stability, it's going to hold strong. It's going to be like strong and stable. Is that kind of that? It's kind of that hidden word within there. Is that stable? If something has stability, it's stable. It's not going to be able to move easily. We are going to come across these 5 words in our read aloud today. If you hear them, I know we can just raise our hand. It doesn't need to be a shout out. It doesn't need anything crazy. Just raise your hand if you hear it. You might recognize it as we go through. Sound good? Perfect. The next thing I want to do is just kind of review what happened in our story last week. So, or not last week, sorry. Our story on Monday. So on Monday, we were reading The Wind in the Willows. Who are our main characters in The Wind in the Willows?
Me?
Yes, Joey.
Rat and Mole.
Good. So our main characters in The Wind in the Willows was Rat and Mole. Fabulous. What are some of the events, some of the things that were happening from beginning to kind of the end where we left off? What are some of the things that were happening in The Wind in the Willows? Kason.
Mole went outside and they found the rat and they started blowing.
Fabulous. That's a great start. Mole went outside, he found Rat, and they started rowing in the boat. That's a really good, quick way to say what happened at the beginning of Wind in the Willows. What followed that? What happened next? Haley?
What happened next is it was his first time riding the boat. And
Whose first time?
Moles, and he went on the boat, went and found a large peg.
Fabulous. So it's Mole's first time on a boat. He goes with Rat. They find lots of things, right? They're going to kind of really go through some exploring phase. Good. Griffin, what else can you add?
Mole is like still asking a lot of questions.
Mhm.
He's asked by the bad forest.
Do you guys remember what that bad forest was called? Zoe?
Bad wolf.
Nope, that was one of the characters. Cooper?
Wild one.
Very good. So we know that Mole is asking Rat a lot of questions about the wildwood. What's that? What's beyond that? Who lives there? So kind of just very curious about what is happening. I have some quick questions for you, just kind of referring to when we look at a story. How do we know there's dialogue in a story? If you're reading a story, what are you going to see that lets you know there's dialogue or characters talking? Emery.
Like when I forgot.
What is that called? What lets us know, right?
Dialogue is where there's these, I don't remember what it's called, but there are lines where they go around there are two lines and they go around the word.
Fabulous. So when someone is talking, we actually have something called quotation marks, and they're those marks that put inside what someone is saying. Those are the quotation marks that let us know someone is speaking. In our story, we have a lot of dialogue, don't we? So as I'm going through, I see a lot of quotation marks that are happening. What is the name for the part of the story that tells what is happening, but it does not have quotation marks around you? So it's telling you what's happening, but it's not dialogue. It doesn't have those quotation marks. What do we call that piece of a story? Give you a hint. It starts with an N. Aiden?
Not talking.
Ooh, I like that guess, but it's not talking. Griffin?
Nonfiction.
Nope, that's going to be a type of a story. When it is going to be a piece of a story that's not characters talking to each other, but it's still telling you what's happened, that's called narration. Everybody say that with me. Narration. Narration is telling you what's happening in a story, but it's not the characters talking with one another. So that's important to know. In our story the other day, who was telling our story? The better way to put that is, who saw the river for the first time? When we first see the river and we're introduced to the river and what's going on, who is that? Viola.
Mole.
That's the mole. We know that where Mole was sitting on the riverbank, he's looking across. He tells us what he sees. He sees a hole and something glowing inside. What's happening in that part of the story is from Mole's perspective. That's a new P word. We did personification Monday. Today we're talking about perspective. What's our word?
Perspective.
Perspective is someone's point of view or how they see something. Do you think when Rat looked up, he saw the exact same thing as Mole? No, they're on different sides. We know this because Mole sees Rat. So Rat must see Mole. Their perspective is different from each other. So we're going to keep that in mind today. Who's telling the story? Whose kind of thoughts are we getting as we go through the story today? And we're going to be thinking about that perspective. Today, we are going to come across a new character. Today, our new character we're going to come across is going to be, is going to be Otter. Today, we are going to meet Otter, and he's going to be another character introduced to our story. This is what a real life otter looks like. Yes, very cute. He is going to be in our story today too. So all of these animals we've come across are animals we're going to find in this habitat where we have that backwater. Remember our backwater we talked about, where there's that calm, still water, where there might be a lot of willow trees because willow trees need water to survive. We know that we had mole and river rat. We very quickly met badger, or got told about badger and weasel, stoat, and fox. And today we're going to add to the crew our friend otter. So just to go over them again super fast. We have the backwater where our story is kind of taking place along the river, where we have those willow trees. Mole and rat are two of our main characters. As they're going along in the boat, they tell us a little bit about badger, stoat, fox, and weasel. I lost them. There we go. And today we're going to be introduced again to otter. What did we learn last week about, or sorry, I keep saying last week. What did we learn on Monday about badger, stoat, fox, and weasel? What did rat say about them? Only like 6 of you heard the story. Kaylin. They're what? Not necessarily mean. They didn't say they're mean because remember he says, I'm friends with them, sure. But there's something you need to know about them. Grayson?
You should always trust them.
You should not always trust them. We don't want to trust them. It says they for sure cannot be trusted. Good. You guys ready to jump into our story? Okay.